All right, awesome to kick off another episode of Tribe Talks. Got Sean Elliott here of Zero to Income. Sean, really excited to sit down with you. I know we're going to have a lot of fun today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've been excited about this and looking forward to it, and I think it's going to be a great call.
Well, I'm excited to get into it, and I want to start off. I want to understand your why. You know, with Tribe and Purpose, we always talk about the purpose of things. I want to know what your purpose is of getting into Zero to Income and trying to help those solopreneurs to save some cash.
Yeah, we got kind of long story and a short version, a short story. I think
Let's
let's
go
let's keep
medium.
let's go, yeah, let's go medium. Me and my business partner Dana Morrison and I, we met through a program. It was an online program that some people spent significant amount of money on. We're talking 10,000 on up to $30,000 for this program.
Mm.
Me, I'm more of a scrapper, and I was able to find access to this for like $50 a month. I didn't even know they had the bonus extra bells and whistles stuff that everybody else
Mm.
was paying for. Anyway, we met through this program, and I threw out an idea of, gosh, how nice would it be to collaborate? We got all these people as part of this community. We all have different talents. Why don't we meet up and grab a handful of us that have these talents and collaborate together and create a business together? And Dan's like, I like the way you think. Let's do that. And so it was just me and him. But one of the things that kind of spun out of that is we ran into a lot of people who were mortgaging their homes to pay for it. They were have relatives that were paying for it and having to go and pay their relatives back,
Mm.
maxing out credit cards. Like me, I've done this before. I have zero retirement. I cashed it all out of my last business that was thriving, and it could not fail, and it failed. But zero retirement, and that's we were seeing people who were cashing out their retirement to pay for this community.
Mm.
And so what Dana and I decided to do is let's build Zero to Income, and let's show people how to do this without going into debt, without paying thousands of dollars, without cashing out your retirement. Let's use the funds and the resources that God's blessed us with wisely,
Mm.
and build a business without doing it to where you're losing sleep at night. And so our whole purpose is to serve others, to help them figure out a way to create an online business that's going to eventually thrive without having to stress over it. There's going to be stress involved, obviously,
Mm.
but yeah. And so Zero to Income was born, and we've been at it for about a year and a half, going on 2 years, and that's where we're at.
Mm.
So
Talking about the stress there. Actually, that's one of the things I think we talked about a little bit before that I think is really interesting with your work, because there's a lot of folks in the entrepreneur space who will talk about burn the boats, and you got to be 100% committed. And well, Sean, if you have money in your retirement, then you're just not committed enough. You need to go all in on your business, and that's the reason your business isn't working. And there's all that logic there.
yeah.
Give me your response to that. I want to know what your thoughts are on opening up that extra level of stress, because like you said, they're going to be stressed in your business whether you got a safety net or not, right?
Yeah. No, I agree. It's yeah, there's that whole idea of just going all in and burn your boats behind you and move forward. And I'm definitely a fan of going all in. I was at the time when I started my last business, I was just mentioning I was selling on Amazon. I was watching or listening to a lot of podcasts. John Lee Dumas, Entrepreneur on Fire. He had an acronym that he used. I know that you brought up acronyms, and they're very much a part of your coaching program and
Yeah.
how you kind of lead your life. But the acronym was FOCUS. Follow
Mm.
one course until success. And um, I really kind of took that and applied that to my business and my life at the time. And I think it helped, and that really is what got that Amazon business really, really flowing. And it grew, and it did go into through some steps from starting off selling used books, starting off then moved into going and doing what they call retail arbitrage, which is going to Target, finding things on sale,
Mhm.
using gift cards. They call it stacking discounts,
Mhm.
and then turn around and sell it on Amazon. And then the next level was actually going wholesale, where you're going straight to the manufacturer for your products. So it wasn't necessarily following one course until success, um, but there was a lot to it where I did get to a point where it's like, no, I'm not going down that track because I need to just follow one course. So I bring that up because
Mhm.
I think that we can also, that can be a detriment. And I think that some people can follow one course until success. And what we're seeing in our community, what we've seen for ourselves, and that's a whole nother story as well, is that we'll spend a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years trying to make something work. And it's like, we know it's going to work. We know people want this. And we've got colleagues. It's like, I know in my heart that people want this and need this. I'm going to hang in there. It's been 3 years, but I'm going to hang in there.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I kind of learned from, he kind of hinted at it. He didn't really, what's the word I'm looking at, hit it hard. But Pat Flynn, and that's where I found John Lee
Mhm.
Dumas, was through Pat Flynn. He's got a free course called Smart from Scratch. And he kind of hints at the idea of pivoting, where you look, you research your niche, figure out, hey, does this thing have some legs? Let's go and see, explore some communities, see what people are struggling with, see if we can help people. And his approach is, if you aren't able to start building some followers, some subscribers, and have like 100 a month, something's not right there. You might need to go
Mhm.
back to the drawing board, go back to your niche, look at a different niche, and that whole follow one course until success, you know, you got to kind of be reasonable with it. And what he talks about is just learning to pivot. Follow one course, but if in a month or two it's not seeing some success, you don't want to be, 3 years later still trying to make it work and starving. you know.
Yeah, definitely. I like to bring the sports context, and as you know, I love with my rugby background. I always think about it in terms of it's like the game plan. Well,
Yeah.
do you need to go to a new game plan? Do you need to make adjustments? Well, it depends if you're executing the game plan. And
Yeah.
that 2 month mark, I love that for it's like, hey, am I really hitting the business hard? Am I really in this? Am I really focused? And giving yourself that real try at it, so you don't just fall into pivoting mode and just bouncing back and forth. Which is what I wanted to ask you on next.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on not to kind of take we talked about the overspending on it, right? Well, there's also an aspect of if I put a couple $1,000s into something, then I'm going to be committed to it. If I throw $50 at this program, $50 at this, I'm bouncing around, pivoting all these different ideas, then you can kind of pivot yourself into a circle there. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on avoiding that end of the spectrum?
Yeah. I like the way you brought that up, because you're right. You could just be pivoting and trying too much, and it's just like you're bouncing all over the place. It's like, let's find something to focus on and have you focused on this enough. So I think that being conscientious, and the term that drove me nuts for a while, and then I finally, I like that term. I don't know, it took me a while to warm up to it, but that's being mindful. Just
Mm-hmm.
being mindful of the process and what you're doing, and are we pivoting too much? And I think you and your dad will probably agree with this, and probably talk about this also, and that is, that there's a lot to be said with just, uh, are we what are the results of what we're doing? Are we having any
Mm-hmm.
results? When you're playing rugby and you've got a game plan, is the game plan working or not? And just kind of having that. But I think that there is a danger in pivoting too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Um, but there's also that always just being mindful and asking yourself the right questions. Have I taken the right actions here? Um, and yeah, you can be throwing money at a lot of different things. And I
Mm-hmm.
can't tell you how many courses I took on, an Amazon business. For the most part, they weren't huge break the bank type courses, but there was a couple of them that were in the thousands. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
I learned some from some of those also, that really took the business to the next level. You
There's
know,
another kind of layer there that I think will be interesting, which is and I kind of hinted at it the last question, but there's this idea inside of business that, price denotes value to a lot of extent. That if you are charging $50 for something, well, that means I'm only going to get $50 of value out of it. Sean,
yeah,
the reason those guys are charging $15,000 for those courses is because it's just that much valuable than some $50 subscription or something there. What are your thoughts on that? Because it's a very real effect. I'd give it that term there, but
sure.
also at the same time, clearly it's not entirely true.
No, at the clear time, it's not entirely true. I've seen some people, charge a heck of a lot of money for a course. I'm like going, yeah, this wasn't worth it, And then I've seen stuff like, even Pat Flynn's Smart from Scratch. Um, it's like, wow, this is something that he could have actually sold for actual money rather than making it free. Now, obviously, he's an affiliate, and he promotes Stand Store in the course as as an affiliate. And I'm sure that if he's got thousands of people taking this Smart from Scratch course, he could be making some pretty good money off that affiliate commission. Um, but even the people who are doing, a $15,000, $20,000 course or community, they're using all their affiliates as well.
Mhm.
I mean, I know people who have affiliate programs, and they're probably making $10,000 to $20,000 a month off of just one product, and that's just the product. That's not counting the course and all that. So um, you, you don't always get the value out of that higher amount.
Mhm.
Sometimes, yes. Again, some of the higher ticket ones that I've taken for the Amazon business definitely paid off, but others it was like, oh wow, that was kind of a waste. And you got to kind of reframe things though and say, hey, did I get any nuggets out of this? Was there anything in here that I did get out of it? And kind of try and focus on the positive, if you will.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think that's a good question and something to be mindful of the bang for your buck. Am I getting
Mhm.
my value out of this? And that's where you definitely have to be careful as a small business owner, and if you can, do some research before you purchase also.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, you can't just go to every free webinar, or order every book, and all those kind of things. But at the same time, I do kind of go to that other end of the spectrum there. Talking about not necessarily just the expensive programs that aren't worth the money, but then also there's a lot of value in some of these cheap free programs, books, different things there where people tend to overlook it a little bit. And I
yeah.
would love to hear from your experience working with your clients what that reason is, or actually, I guess maybe working with people who didn't want to be clients because they didn't see that value versus people that you are working with that do understand that mindset. What's the difference there?
Yeah, I don't know what the difference would be, and I think that a lot of it also very well could be, and I know with me, it's I think it's a number of things. One, it's just so many. There's so many different products out there. It's like, which
Mm-hmm.
one should I go with? And then two, it also comes back to what I was kind of talking about before in the last kind of comment, and that was you're not too sure. Is this going to be another dud? Am I going to go and spend money on this, even if it is $50 or $60,
You're
and is
still
it going to be
spending
a
your time.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're still spending your time, you're still spending, and is this going to be just another dud? And I've spent time on it and not gotten anything out of it. Um, and I unfortunately, there's more duds than that I've come across, and it's like, okay, this was something I got a lot out of. This was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, it's like, okay, this guy just kind of threw this together, and there wasn't a whole lot of value here. Um, but I think a lot of it is just overwhelmed because there's just so much to choose from, and
Mm-hmm.
just not knowing will I get what I need to out of this. And I know that with some of the people that I work with who are like throwing advertising dollars out there, a lot of what happens with that kind of stuff is they throw it out there and they get zero results. It's like, I just
Mm-hmm.
spent $1,000 on some Facebook advertising, and I didn't get any results at all. And so we see a lot of that, where it's frustrating because there's a whole lot of testing that's involved with all of this, and let's
Mm-hmm.
test this and see what happens. Kind of like that again. Pat Flynn's pivoting. Let's test this, see what happens in the next month or two, see if we get subscribers, see if this has legs, and then we run with it. Or do we need to pivot and go back to the drawing board?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's the two things I think are kind of coming to mind. Is just too many choices, and am I going to get anything out of this, or is it going to be another dud? You know?
Yeah, there's that weird thing of people are a little bit more scared to put the time out there into those things versus the money. If I could pay $5,000 for the course, and Sean can help me out, and I can get this all put together, versus I got to spend a weekend reading this book, and it
Yeah,
might not work.
yeah,
And then of course the folks selling those big programs also are going to speak it with the utmost confidence and have their sales pitch down and all those kind of things. Whereas you're reading the back cover of a book, that's not as good of a sell, I guess.
yeah,
But
yeah.
the other piece I kind of want to get into before we switch gears here, Sean, is I want to know what what the impact is zero to income has on folks. Whether you call it a success story or talking more broadly, we talk about we kind of talk about the two paths there, if you will, of these very expensive programs versus going the more, kind of bootstrap type route.
Yeah.
Give me the sales pitch on the bootstrap route.
Yeah, I think on the bootstrap route, and I think the value that zero to income gives for people is just, again, they're learning, there are other tools out there that aren't going to break the bank. Yes, there's some free stuff out there, but even the stuff that we would recommend that you pay for, we're not talking, $150, $200, $300 a month for a package. It's going to be, $20, $25, $30, $40 a month for a tool. We've got clients that if they go by what the gurus say, they would have paid $450 to $500 a month for all the tools that the gurus recommend. And it's like, hey, let's do this, and we knocked it down to $35 a month. Did it have all the exact bells and whistles and polish that the other stuff had? Not necessarily. But it also wasn't as complicated, because the other tools, were Zaps with Zapier, and having to use this webhook and having to do this, where for $37 a month we had one package that did it all without having to do Zaps and integrate all this other stuff. And so so much of this is just helping people realize, step back and educate yourself and see, is there another way of doing this? Is there another way of skinning this cat? And I think that a lot of people just appreciate that. And I think they also just appreciate that we're here to serve, and we care about them, and we don't want them. Dan and I even, we actually say on one of our videos on one of the landing pages, if you have to pull out a credit card to pay for this, we don't want you to do it. If you can't turn around and pay for this, like right this month, if you do use the credit card and pay for it right this month, we don't want you to do it. We do not want people going into debt. The Venom brothers, a couple of gentlemen, brothers that Dana listens to, they have a podcast. And they talk about 3 things, maybe 4 things that need to happen when you're working with the client. That is, it needs to be the right product that's going to solve their problem. It needs to be the right price. It needs to be the right time. We don't, again, want people going and spending too much, and we don't want them getting something that's not going to solve a specific problem for them. Because a lot of people, you've probably heard this, where people go and buy coaching packages and they never sign up for a coaching call.
Yeah.
It's I saw that all the time. Yeah, so-and-so, yeah, we've got 65%, the one group I was part of, 65% of the people that have signed up for our coaching program who've spent, $7,000, not one of them signed up for the coaching. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, don't watch the videos, don't come to the coaching. I've been in those groups, and I've seen it with our business too. The other piece, though, I want to ask on is talking about, the finding the right product at the right time, all that kind of stuff. Let me just frame it this way. Who's the right person to come work with you? Watch this video and goes, hey, I need to call Sean. What does that person look like? Yeah,
I think our avatar, the right the person that we're looking at, is that new entrepreneur, that new business owner, or someone who has been trying to make a go of it and is just overwhelmed and not really sure. So much of what Dana and I do is we look at it as a puzzle, and it's like, what are all of the puzzle pieces to this business, and how do we pull all these puzzle pieces together? And a lot of this challenge is just not knowing what the puzzle pieces are. And sometimes it's like you've opened up the box, but not all the pieces are there. They forgot to include all the puzzle pieces, and so you've got to go figure out what's missing.
And then you find what's missing, and then somebody's trying to sell you the $5,000 golden puzzle piece to slide right in there.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, the person that we're trying to help is just someone who's just feeling overwhelmed by it all, and has been burnt, has taken courses, has spent a lot of money and not gotten what they need, and so, our main focus is, again, helping small new entrepreneurs who are struggling, are frustrated, how to use the tools and resources they need to build a business and to make it stinking easy for them. And that's really what we want to do, and help those people make it less overwhelming, and also give them kind of a sense of the dealing with the unknown, of will this work or not, and so we know that every business is going to be different, and again, so much of this is being able to help people figure out, is this going to work or not? And do we need to pivot, type of thing. So, yeah.
I love that. I know we talked about on our coaching call together, talking about like the dieting example of that. It's like, look, whatever works, the thing that's going to fit for you, that actually fits you, it's going to be the thing that's the most effective. And yeah, no point, whether entrepreneurship or diet or some other example, ain't no point trying to cram yourself into somebody else's system.
And that's so important also. We have a lot of people come to us with, hey, so-and-so said I should do this. And it's like, now step back and say, is that in your wheelhouse? Is that something you're comfortable doing? We got people who are not comfortable talking on the in front of a camera at all. And it's like, all right, so you might want to be doing some faceless stuff, and there are people, they're saying I should do this. And it's like, well, do you want to have a podcast? No, it's not my wheelhouse. Well, then do whatever's going to be most comfortable for you, and it's not going to have what I, kind of roadblocks into, hey, I really want to do that, but I'm not comfortable doing that. I'm not good at it. You're not going to follow through if you've got all of these hurdles that you got to go over that are going to make it challenging for you, because it's just, you're not comfortable doing it. And it's like, where is your talent at, and your drive at, and where you're feeling inspired? Because just because the guru is telling you to do that doesn't necessarily mean that's what you have to do,
Yeah.
And, so much of this is just, like you said, what's working, just because it worked for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you, and vice versa. Just because they're saying that what you're going to do didn't work for them doesn't mean it won't work for you. Test it, play with it.
Yeah, and I'll one up you, I'll add to that, not one up.
Yeah,
yeah. But it could work, and then you freaking hate it. Like your example there of folks who don't want to be in front of the camera. Your podcast could blow up, and then you hate I record every Tuesday and Thursday with my dad. If I hated the podcast, my Tuesdays and Thursdays would suck every single week. I wouldn't want to do that. I'd go crazy. It wouldn't matter how much money I was making on it. It wouldn't be right for me. It's I always joke about the American dream, and the wife and the 2 kids and the dog and the white picket fence, and you get there and you're like, well, I like cats. It's
like cats. I knew someone who had her whole life planned out. Go to college, do this, and she had gone through all the special stuff, and gone through law school, became a lawyer, and said, "This sucks. I hate being a lawyer." And she had everything planned out, just But yeah, and going back to the whole thing, if you hated doing it, it would be very hard to show up. And I was talking to Dana about this. I didn't get a lot done this week so far. But last week I did like 5 or 6 Facebook lives, lives, and I find them easier to do than the YouTube videos, and I was trying to figure out why. And I think part of it is with the YouTube videos, like, okay, I got the video done, now I got to go edit it and make sure it's polished. I'm going to also go in, I'm going to edit the audio and make sure I've got studio sound kind of built in. Got some tweaks that I do to my audio to just make that sound just a little bit better. And then, of course, I want to go find some B-roll for it. Maybe throw in some music, maybe not. Going to throw in some text blurbs in there. And then I got to think of a YouTube title that's going to be SEO friendly, and it's going to please the YouTube gods and the algorithm.
Yep.
And then I got to come up with a description that's also going to be SEO friendly and rich with all the keywords that we need. And there's just a lot that goes into that YouTube video. With a Facebook Live, hey guys, it's one of my clients runs a podcast. It's messy, but it's so good. And with the Facebook Live, it's messy, and that's it. Here it is.
Yep.
It's live. And I think because we don't have all of those hurdles of come up with a thumbnail, come up with the title, come up with this, it's just easier to do it and knock it out.
Yeah. I'd add to that I've heard it put this way of it's getting the 80% solution. Not the last 20% can come. You can keep editing and editing, but it's like, give me an 80% solution. Just put it out there. Because you know what? If your message is right, if your business idea is right, if you have something to tell and there's an audience out there for it, they will find you even if you don't have all the SEO and yada yada yada. Right? They will still connect with you. Oh yeah.
And there's that other phrase that a lot of people throw out, and that's that being authentic, and I just be you, and some people are going to love you and want to learn more from you, and some aren't, and that's okay, but they're not going to know that unless you're out there. And so that's where you say that 80%, get out there. It doesn't have to be perfect, and let people know that you're there, and let them have the opportunity to connect with you and decide, do I want to learn more from this guy? Do I want to work with this guy or not? And that's okay if they don't, you know?
Yeah, and really, it's just like what you and Dana are doing. I was joking about that golden puzzle piece. Yeah,
Yeah,
the golden puzzle piece might be nice. You might want that one day, but get the 80% solution out there. Start putting that puzzle together. You'll be much more effective with it.
exactly. Exactly. So true.
Oh, well,
So true.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing on that, Sean. And Joe, just real quick, what's the best way for folks to get in contact with you, start working with you and Dana?
I think the best way also is just going to be, just send me an email, Sean at zerotoincome.com. And that's, you write out zero, ZERO, and then the number two. I know we did this terrible. That's not the best way to name your businesses.
It looks
people.
good. It looks good, though.
It looks good, but still, you have to do exactly what I'm doing right now. So you write out zero, the number two, and then write out income, zerotoincome.com, Sean at zerotoincome.com. And that's going to be the best way to reach me. And we'll be happy to answer any questions you have, concerns you might have. Reach out to us, and we're happy to help. We're here to serve.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Sean.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So, Camden, I would love to learn more about your story, how you got here, what brought you here, what's been the keys to your success, maybe some challenges.
Yeah, gosh, what got me here, it's one of those, it's kind of that butterfly effect thing. My mind immediately went to one event, which I'll hit quickly because it does make the story long. But, I was playing rugby here at the U of A and had a weightlifting accident, hurt my back, and pro rugby career was gone. And so as far as I was concerned, I was dead set. That was the direction I was going to go. If anyone had asked me what I was going to do after school, I'd say, well, I'm studying agricultural business, but it's because I want to own a farm when I retire from being a pro rugby player. Like, that was the way I saw my path. And, what happens is when you get an injury like that, it's just like there's all sorts of events in your life that happen like this, but you lose your sense of identity, you lose your sense of purpose. And I was just lost with a lot of it. And fortunately for me, I had my dad, who I talked with all the time. And he at the time was just working on a company, LTO Enterprises, which you can see our hat right there for LTO, the old business. And he was doing a lot of transition coaching with veterans. And so I was able to, run through basically his transition coaching program for free. And with that, that really gave me the clarity that I needed to start moving forward and choose my new path as an entrepreneur. And, then years down the road, after a few different entrepreneurial ventures, I was working part-time with him at what it was now Tribe and Purpose. And then was thinking, gosh, I love this business stuff. Gosh, I love the leadership aspect of it. That was my favorite part of the business. I love the problem solving, but also I love the leadership aspects of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm out there coaching rugby all the time. And like, gosh, it would be a lot of fun to get into leadership coaching business. Mm-hmm. And so I came on board with him, focusing a lot in that transition coaching and, working with college athletes who went through similar things to me, whether it was an injury or, they just graduated. And hopefully for a lot of them, it wasn't this wake up call of, ooh, I'm not that good. The NFL is not calling. Usually there's a little bit more self-awareness there, but just helping them to get that clarity and understanding of what their purpose is and creating a plan to go get it. And, that's the long and short of it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that jumped out at me while you were talking was when you had that accident that kind of ended your rugby career, and you kind of mentioned this, and that is that identity crisis of, I'm all about rugby. That's who I am. That's what my life's been like, and I imagine that must have just been a huge struggle for you, trying to figure out, who am I now? What am I now? What's next?
Yeah, it really was. And, I think it's something that happened. Like I said, it happens lots of different people for all sorts of different reasons. Of course, the veterans go through that a lot. When they hang up the uniform, they go through that identity crisis as well. And to give you the brief answer of what that looks like, because I do think it's important to share it. And folks, this is kind of like sharing some nugget from a therapist. It's like, this does not solve your problems, but it's like, it is a big piece of the process. But it's recognizing, and it sounds cheesy. We were joking about mindfulness on your half of this joint interview, but it sounds a little cheesy. cheesy, but it's like, it's just understanding who you are and that you are not all of those things. You know, I am just Camden. I am not Camden, the rugby player. I'm not just Camden, the entrepreneur. Because I'll tell you a little secret, Sean. I went through the exact same thing with my businesses. When I hung up a business, I felt that same loss of identity of like, wait, I thought I was going to be the CEO of Aquatunities forever. I thought I would be the CEO of Verbi forever. I'll tell you the truth. I want to go back and get both those businesses going one day. But it's like, at the same time, when you hang your identity on all of those things, you are giving that control to somebody else. You're giving that control out to the world. And instead, if you just focus on who you are, your values, you know, your work ethic, your discipline, all of those different things there, all those things that make up the journey, then no one can really take that away from you. You always have that. And it's a hard place to get to, like I said, but it's a lot stronger, I would say.
Yeah, you know, and I really like, again, you've kind of hinted at that already, how you apply that to tribe and why am I
Tribe and purpose. You're good.
Tribe and purpose. I knew it was a P. Tribe and purpose. You know, in your leadership training, you know, how that's incorporated into it, right? Tell me more about that, because I think that it's a huge part of your training.
It really is, because, you know, I talk about all of that in terms of the transition coaching and all of that. That's really where I learned a lot of that lessons. You know, of course, for my dad's story of it would be, you know, a little bit different. But the key to me there is that all those things I'm talking about, it's still leadership, but it's leading yourself. It's understanding, you know, people talk about viewing your life as, you know, viewing yourself as a business and, you know, treating yourself as an entrepreneur, even if you're not an entrepreneur. That's a pretty common thing you hear thrown out on podcasts. But really, it's this idea of I am leading my own life and attacking that just like a leader would attack a problem inside of a business. What is the purpose? Why are you here? What do you want? What is the impact you want to have? What is the mission that you're on? How are you going to make that reality, or make that vision come to reality, right? Not just this idea, kind of vague idea of, well, I'm Camden, I kind of like rugby or these different, and I'm into business a little bit. I studied ag. I'm from Colorado. I'm a military brat. No. What is my story? Who am I? What is my purpose? It's like, okay, I want to help people. I want to affect change through all of my different life categories, which I know is some of the coaching I shared with you. But it's like going through that of, look, not just a understanding of like, look, I am this job, I am this role. Even if you're an entrepreneur and you're your own boss, falling into that identity trap is just as easy. And when you start to recognize your different, like I mentioned, the life categories and how nuanced and complicated your life is and how much it is uniquely yours, it's a lot easier to stay into that place. And then it just goes back to the leadership of, once you have that understanding, just like a good leader, it's like, hey, we want to, you know, take a rugby example. We want to win the game Saturday. All right, well, what do we need to do to win the game? And then you start putting that plan together. And that's really the fundamentals, because we say it all the time. If you can't lead yourself, you're not going to lead others. If you can't lead yourself, you're not going to inspire others to follow you. And it all just goes back to being able to lead yourself first.
Yeah, I love that. You know, and one of the calls that you and I had, you know, you really went into that, you know, the importance of leading yourself and how there's this level of emotional intelligence that is really kind of important. And I do think that we can grow that emotional intelligence that's necessary for ourselves in order to be better leaders. You know, so much of that, you know, of what you've experienced with the challenges you've had, identity changes, that goes into businesses, because you're right. We have these different businesses, different, you know, entrepreneur journeys that we've gone into, and for whatever reason, we've shifted gears and gone another way. And it's like, there's some identity changes in each of those, you know, and so navigating that is so important. And having someone like you and your dad there to help people navigate that, I think, is huge. You know?
Yeah, and because it's going to happen all sorts of different ways. You know, I'll give you another example, because we're kind of circling around a little bit more of the, to put it broadly, the more like the failure type of things, where it's like the business fails, you have a back injury, there, you know, these kind of more catastrophic type events. It happens with success too. That's the kind of crazy thing. And you know, this is one of those, I've done more of my coaching in the transition side of things with those college athletes, like I mentioned, and then some of the leadership development and teams. My dad has done more of the executive coaching, and he's had to sit down a handful of different CEOs. And this is not unique to Tribe and Purpose. This happens with other coaches and consultants and all those kind of things. And they go, Sean, you know, you're not a good CEO. your vision was great. You got the business to this point. You are not good at your job right now. And you do not have the skill set for it. You don't have the aptitude for it. You might not even enjoy what you're doing. Just like we talk about in leadership all the time, of the idea of the mechanic who's really good at working on the cars, gets the most cars done, changes the most tires, and so you go, you know what? You're a manager now. And then he gets there and he's like, I hate people. That's why I want to work on cars. Like, same thing happens with entrepreneurs. It is a different skill set to talk to grow a business than it is to run a business. We were talking in the first half of this, which if you're just hearing Sean interviewing me, go to the 10X Your Team YouTube channel and check out the other half of it, because Sean got a lot of good nuggets in there too. But it's just like we were talking about with that you have to have an understanding of what it is that you want to get out of it. You have to be able to put that plan together and, be able to make those micro pivots as you're going. And if you're tied up in your identity and you are constantly tied to what you used to be doing, then you are going to fail in that next chapter. I think of it, just like I was saying, it's like an old business, these different things there. You get that ego involved too much rather than just recognizing your role inside of the business. The example I always throw out is, that CEO who needs to step down, maybe slide into a different position. There's all sorts of different options there. But I always think it's like, wouldn't that just be the coolest thing to go, I was the CEO of that. I built that. And I don't run anymore yet. I know, but they still send me checks. It's like, that's freaking awesome. Like, it's a much cooler way of looking at it, and recognize your role in the journey. Don't let your ego tell you that you need a bigger role.
Yeah. It's so important, that the ego thing, that really rings true. It's, it can be a challenge to keep your ego in check. And it's like, hey, it's not that big of a deal. The whole point is to serve. And that might mean you and I have talked about this, the Good to Great book. That might mean me changing the seat on the bus, or maybe I need to get off this bus. I'm on the wrong bus right now, or I've ridden as far as this bus is going to go for me. I'm getting off. This is my stop,
Yeah. And it goes back to the mindfulness and the self-awareness we were talking about. One of my favorite things to bring up in my coaching, and I wish I would have Googled this beforehand to double check, because I love my Stoic quotes, but because of that, they blur together. I think this is a Marcus Aurelius, but I'm not totally sure. But it's the idea that the easiest and most deadly sin is lying to yourself, right? And it's so easy. It's so easy to say, you know what, I need to sleep a little bit longer. That's my bad one. I'm not a morning person, and I could talk myself into that extra 30 minutes. It's like, you know what, I just had such a rough night, Sean. I need this 30 minutes. It's so easy to lie to yourself. And then because it's so easy, you'll lie to yourself about all sorts of things, and that can jack up your life if you just let yourself, if you never call yourself out on it,
Yeah. Yep. I agree. And I totally just was like, another person like me. I am not a morning person. So it was like, I can't relate.
But actually, wait, this is a great point for our conversation. Actually, I hadn't put this one together before. It's really funny, but that self-awareness is so important, because and you've met my dad, Otis, and we'll have you on the podcast here soon. And believe it or not, the 27-year Green Beret, he wakes up early, and that was my standard. That was what a successful day looks like. And I'll tell you, I do think I need to get up earlier. I think it would help me be more successful. But then on the other end of it, I also can look at myself and go, I'm never going to be a 5 a.m. guy. I just don't think I'm going to settle in. I don't think I'm going to magically settle into that. I think now, can I push it from 8 to 7? Yeah, I need to do that. 6:30 maybe. Yeah, that would be good. It's all there's a flexibility there, but just recognizing that was someone else's definition of what a successful schedule looks like. It works wonders for him. It doesn't work for me. That's all right. You gotta try things out and be ready to keep pivoting, like we've been talking about.
Yeah, definitely. So important to be trying things out and pivoting, and I agree. Speaking of pivoting, I want to pivot a little bit here and focus a little bit more about what you and your dad do at Tribe and Purpose. And what I'd like to learn a little bit about is, what are some of the more memorable, maybe clients or changes you've seen in somebody? Because I know that, one of my past lives, I was a counselor, and so I've got all these experiences helping people quit smoking, and there were some clients that kind of stood out, and I imagine you have that kind of, remember what we did with so and the change they had. Do you have anything you want to share? regarding
yeah,
that?
no, definitely. A bunch come to mind. One of the main ones, and this is the broader, less specific one that comes to mind,
Hmm.
is we
Hmm.
last year we ran a bunch of interns through our 3 month leadership program, GBLP, and just they were all college seniors getting ready to go into the field. A lot of them, because they were interns, were looking to get hired with the company we were working with, and it was just really interesting to see all of these different applications of the stuff we've been talking about. I think inside of business, it can be a little bit. This might rub people the wrong way. It can get a little bit easier because I sign the paychecks, and
Hmm.
there's this management structure in place where you do kind of have to follow what I'm saying. It's like I will talk about this on the podcast all the time.
Sure.
Of they're the leadership of the Army, and so great. They have so many great schools and trainings that they go through that can help to make you a great leader. But also, Sean, you know what happens if you tell your boss in the Army that you don't want to go to work today? You go to freaking jail. Like, literally, you go to jail. Like, so it's a little bit easier like that. And with these college seniors, they were being a leader of their peers. Which,
Yeah.
to give my dad Otis this credit, he told me this when I was a captain of a rugby team. It's like the hardest thing you'll ever do in life is be a leader of your peers, because you want them to like you. You don't really have pressure you can put on them. Like, what am I going to do? I can't fire you. I can't do anything to you. You're just not doing your job, and I have to figure out how to use the soft skills to get you to do the job. And I think so, because of that, we got so many really interesting problem sets in that kind of a vein, where it's like, dude, I have people that just don't care, and I care a lot, and I want them to care, and it's a lot harder to solve those problems. But the overarching answer to a lot of those is it just goes back to modeling. We talked a little bit about control earlier, focusing on what's inside your control, accepting what's outside of your control, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You, as a leader, you think you're in control of that team. You're not in control of any of those people.
Mm-mm.
What you're in control of is how you show up as a leader, how
Yep.
you model that behavior. And if
Yeah.
you model really good behavior and you are focused, then it is more likely that they will follow it. They
Mhm.
may not. That's how it goes. I love the analogy of the ripple effects, right? That we have the choice to keep doing these things, whether we're talking about gratitude, holding the door open for somebody, whatever it is. You have a choice to do these nice things for folks,
Yeah.
modeling good leadership, right?
Yeah.
You could do that and no one could ever care. But
Yeah.
all you could do, talk about those ripple effects, is you can just keep throwing the stone out and just keep throwing it out. And maybe one day that ripple effect will hit somebody and they'll go, you know what? Sean really showed me how to be a great leader, and I don't think I gave him enough credit for that. I should probably start working a little bit harder with this. Maybe I should volunteer some extra time, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And it just goes back to what do you have control over? Just how you show up. And so if you model that behavior, then people will more likely follow it, and they might not. And then, going back to, the bus, then might be time to get them off the bus. But all you could do is show them the right way to act. I think of, I give a quick example of out with the rugby team. If a captain goes and he's like, we're not working hard enough and I want to show up early and work. If he's there early, then what happens is the next day a couple other guys show up early. And then by the time you got 30 guys out there early, everyone's early. And then all the coaches got to show up early. And it's like all this kind of stuff. But it just starts off with modeling. It's not cracking the whip and saying, you guys got to do this. It's, I'm doing this because I want to get better. Do you want to get better? And that's the big flip there for me. The other one that comes to mind is more in the executive area. We because it's a lot of fun. We did a offsite with some folks, and just always really good. Executive teams are interesting because they're together for a reason, and then but the work, it's just like a relationship. The work can just kind of tear things apart and get messy. So getting in an offsite and getting folks to really start collaborating again, and going back to why they were there in the first place, going back to their purpose and those kind of things is a really exciting place to be, because purpose is so powerful, of course.
Yeah. No, it is. It's definitely powerful. So what does it look like when someone comes to work with you? Is it something that is, a weekend thing? Is it a weekly thing for 10 weeks? What's this whole process look when someone comes to work with you and they're wanting to make a change and develop some leadership skills? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we got a few different programs. The first one I'll hit really quickly because we spend less time on it. We do fractional COO work, and we spend less time on it just because I think our focus is more in the actual leadership and team development side of things. But
Fractional
that is
COO?
fractional COO. So for a business that doesn't really have the budget yet, you're in that growth where you're like, ooh, I know what I need, but I can't pay for it just yet. we can kind of step in and help to bridge that gap for those growing businesses. And then the other programs that we, I spend more time talking about, because again, it's where I have more fun with it also,
Sure.
is one I already mentioned, GBLPs. That's the Green Beret Leadership Program. So this one is for teams, usually kind of in that 10 to 20 range as far as size of the team. And this is about developing leaders inside of your team, getting to what we like to call having a team of leaders. When you're leading a team of leaders, it's a really powerful place to be because each person has ownership over their problem set. They can function independently. It makes them more flexible. They understand the vision. They understand purpose. All of those same kind of things that we're talking about in terms of self-leadership. When you have a team that is all on that same page, it is a really freaking cool place to be, let me tell you. So that is specific to kind of get to the nuts and bolts of it. That's a 3-month program. We go through, got a bunch of online videos to kind of talk things through. And then the real juice of it comes from our implementation calls. And I'm sure you've been on leadership teams like that, or teams where it's not just that somebody's smart or that you are getting taught something. It is the group of people coming together and collaborating on it, which really hammers the lessons home. My dad always talks about this with his time with the Green Berets. It's not just that you got some badass who's in charge. You got a bunch of badasses together who all learn it from each other. And that is a really powerful place to be.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what GBLP helps with, and really just to help create that more flexible team so that you can sustain your growth. Because what really happens as business grows is you get what we call that leadership gap, where when we're around the coffee table and we're just talking about things, everyone understands what my vision is as a CEO. Then we start hiring some folks and we hire some remote workers and these different things. All of a sudden, that gap just grows and grows and grows. And the way I like to put it is each leader you develop in your team that you give that skill set, it opens them up to then be kind of a beacon for that leadership, beacon for your culture, and to help that kind of sustain throughout the organization. And then the last thing we add is also another 3-month program. We actually just launched this one called the CEO Jumpstart. And so this is more for solopreneurs who are just getting started out and know they want to be a CEO. We were talking about the guys earlier who, you're the startup guy, and then you get to the point where you got to hang up the hat, get off the bus because you're not a good CEO. We want to help you to not have to get off the bus there. Right. And that's what the CEO Jumpstart is all about. It's about understanding yourself and building your own self-leadership skills so that then you can be more effective as a leader when that time comes and you do have a team to lead. And so that's also a 3-month program. That one, instead of the group coaching, it's one-on-one coaching with me, which is a lot of fun, of course. Group coaching is so much fun. I do enjoy my one-on-ones, though.
Yeah. You kind of mentioned something I think that is really important for a lot of us, even somebody who's going to be the CEO. And Robert Kiyosaki talks a lot about this in his Rich Dad, Poor Dad books, and that is just developing that team, because even as a CEO, you're not going to have all of the knowledge and all of the skills. Your job, my view anyway of a CEO is being able to realize, hey, I don't have all the skills, but I want to go and grab those key members that do. In your dad's world, it would be the Green Beret who's the medic. That's his specialty. The Green Beret who, again, maybe is the explosives expert. And again, I'm not familiar with how it all works.
Hey, I could give you one more because my examples aren't that great either. Because there's a comms guy, I know that.
There you go. Exactly. But they all work together as a team.
Yep.
And again, when you have those people and they have that team and leadership mentality, and you bring all that together, that's some powerful stuff.
It is. And you touched on the other aspect with the CEO Jumpstart that I'd love to add to it, which I didn't mention, which is, we're tribe and purpose for a reason, which is building that tribe. And that's not, we're not going to get on a coaching call and I'm going to tell you all the people you need to hire. What I'm going to talk to you about is all the people you need to go have a cup of coffee with. People that you just need to sit down and tell your business ideas, see if they got any ideas for you, see if they want to collaborate, see if they want to, they got some referrals or anything like that, and just start growing that network, growing your tribe, because that's the only way you really are going to make it. Because we could talk all the time about building a team. Sean, it costs a lot of money to hire on a whole team. If I came to you and was like, I need you to hire 10 people, you're going to go, what the hell are you talking about, kid? I don't have the money for that. I might be able to get them through a couple of days, but that's about it. I don't have the bankroll for it. And that's where a lot of people are. And so it's about building a tribe of other people that might have their own businesses. They might not be in business, but you can support each other in other ways and help push each other towards success. And I think that's a really big key of what it is also.
Yeah. Wow, that's powerful. Definitely some powerful stuff. Yeah, I'm just speechless. It's amazing. Some of the things that came to mind as you were talking was, uh, Dana is out doing stuff like that. He's going
Mm.
to conferences. He's talking to people. Pat Flynn talks about also go have conversations with people and find out what are they struggling with, and what challenges do they have. And so in my case, as maybe somebody who's struggling to be a CEO, it would be, I'm not sure if I'm on the right bus. I'm not sure which seat I should be in,
Mm.
and coming to someone like you're going to help me figure that out, and a lot of that is just sitting down and having a cup of coffee with me.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
cool. Good stuff. Yeah. So, um, if people wanted to get a hold of you, or did you have anything else that you wanted to share
No,
before
no, no.
we?
Best thing is just 10xyourteam.net. On there, you'll see three different things right when you get on there. The DIY leadership, which will take you to our Facebook channel and some other more DIY type of things. And then the Done With You programs, which are the GBLP and the CEO Jumpstart, like I mentioned. And then there's also a link to the fractional COO services there as well. And if you were specifically interested in the CEO Jumpstart, that is 10xyourteam.net/CEO.
All right. So that's the important thing. 10xyourteam.net.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And that's
Perfect.
10x your team. Yeah.
YOURTEAM.net. Public spelling.
Exactly.
I think I got it.
I love it.
Wait, we're talking. I got to get this out. We're talking business lessons, all this kind of stuff. I threw out one of my business names. We're laughing at Zero to Income. I got to throw one out. Aquatunities sounds awesome.
Opportunities.
So cool. It's aquaponics and opportunities. Spell opportunities on the phone, Sean.
Oh my gosh. Yep, yep, yep. Well, my Amazon business was Impulse Buys for You, and it's the number 4. So again, I have to spell it out. Impulse Buys, number 4. The letter U, not YOU, the letter U. Looks cool.
Oh yeah, that's
you know,
yeah. Don't make it too cute, folks. There's the lesson for the solopreneurs out there.
do
You
as I
might want to
say, not
rethink
as
the
I
name.
do.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, Camden, this has been a hoot. Really, really enjoyed this, and again, like you said, you could do this every week.
Yes, we could. And folks, if you enjoyed this, make sure you tune in because we're having Sean on 10x your team here in just a couple weeks, I think, and we'll get Otis in on all the fun.
Yeah, and again, go check out the YouTube channel 10x your team, because that is what Otis and Camden are doing. They're hanging out like he and I are doing right now and talking, and they get down and talk leadership. All right, and they have guests you can go and check out. I know one of the videos that I was watching your channel was the interview with each of the members of the different forces. You had a SEAL team
Yes.
person.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you had a pararescue guy from the
No,
Air Force or not.
We played favoritism a bit. We had 2 Green Berets technically, so we
Okay,
had
so
2
you had
Green
2 Green
Berets
Berets.
and a Navy SEAL. Yeah.
And a Navy SEAL, yeah. And that was a hoot. And that's the kind of stuff that you guys do. And so check out the channel too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good
I
stuff.
appreciate it, Sean. And thank you so much for spending some time with me on this episode of Tribe Talks.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I mean, this has been great. And I've been really appreciative of our time here. It's been good.